Hey there, Kansas City. Stephen St. John here with another episode of Hot Mic with SSJ. Yes, 2 straight weeks with an episode. Look, I've been busy, so don't fuck with me. I'm doing my best to keep up. So give me credit instead of criticizing me. Back-to-back weeks with the podcast. Hopefully everyone liked the podcast with my dad, Steve St. John Sr. Ben tells me it's doing good numbers. So that means you want to sponsor this podcast, don't you? All right. Send me an email, StephenSt.John at 810WHB.com. And look here, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can be alerted whenever we have a new podcast. No wisecracks. And also, you can listen at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. Hopefully, this is one of them. And you can listen whenever you want, but just like and subscribe, because then Ben gets to line his pockets and maybe he'll share some of it with us. And so this week, I'm really excited because we're not going to talk about sports very much, and we're going to talk more about entertainment and some fun shit like that, and hopefully hear some good stories. I have Drew Starlin, who is the star of Rocky Live on Stage that right now is running at the Music Theater, Kansas City. For more information, mtkc.org, and it runs until April 28th. It's at the B&B Live Theater right off 435 and Midland that's inside the B&B movie theaters. It's awesome. And I had a chance to go see opening night on Friday. And first of all, what a great venue. And for tubbies like me, I can still go get my popcorn and drinks and enjoy it just like I'm watching a movie. But the acoustics are great, and it's really cool. They have a stage set up, but they also use the big movie screen and you know, it's part of the show. And so it's like you're at the movies, but you're watching live theater and a musical. So it was great. And on top of that, guess what? I make an appearance. So yes, I had a selfish reason for going. Nate Bucati and I play the broadcast crew that calls the big fight that is the finale of the musical between Rocky Balboa and Apollo Creed. And everyone knows how big of a Rocky fan I am, how much I love the movies. So it was an absolute thrill to be asked to do this. And I'm glad, to be honest, like I told my son right before it started, I go, God, I hope I didn't suck. There's a chance I sucked. He goes, well, you know, I mean, you did it. Did you suck? I go, I was kind of nervous. I might suck. And then afterwards, my son looked at me and he said, Dad, you did not suck. And you know what? Isn't that what we live for if we're a father, for our children to tell us we don't suck? And so it was awesome. I loved it. I even loved the parts that I wasn't in. How about that? And so that's why I asked the star, Drew Starlin, to, by the way, what a fucking great name for the star of anything, Drew Starlin. You know, it's like he fucking made it up. It's awesome. And so he's here to talk about this experience of starring in Rocky Live on Stage, mtkc.org. Drew, how you doing, man?
I'm great. I'm really happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here, too. And so I was there opening night. And here's the deal. When I travel, I got a lot of fucking kids. I got people. I got my dad and his wife. I got girlfriends of the sons. And so, you know, we go out to eat. I got to take out a loan, you know. And so,
it was a full posse.
We had a whole row. And everyone was really excited because we all love Rocky. And then they kept asking me leading up to it. So now how does this work? You're in it, but you don't have to be up there. You said it was a musical. I said, well, no, what do you think? I'm just going to get out of my fucking chair. I'm here with you. No, I'm not going to be on stage, right. But I'm in it. But I don't want to spoil. Will you just trust me and watch it without asking too many questions? And so when somebody asks you, okay, so how is it? It's at a movie theater. It's a wonderful theater. There's elements on the big screen, but it's also a musical, and it's after. How close is it to follow Rocky? How do you describe what Rocky Live on Stage is?
I mean, pretty much everything you just said. Yeah, the original Broadway show that opened in 2012, maybe 2014, they had a suspended ring.
Oh, shit.
And then at the end, the ring came down, and it fucking went out over the audience. You had to move like 6 or 7 rows of audience members from the theater up onto stage. So if you're sitting up in the balcony, you are checking out this. It looks like you're looking down into an arena over a ring. Right?
Can you imagine if you had edibles before that? You'd be so fucking scared. Like, why is this ring coming at me? I don't like this. Or you would have loved it. I don't know.
Well, so the challenge that we obviously had is we don't have that capability. So how do you take this this spectacle and create it in our space. Well, the big white elephant in the room is the gigantic movie screen. So it's like, okay, we've been using it before for different productions, backdrops, and a little bit of moving images and things like that. But this was the experiment. Okay, how do we really integrate that screen against what's going to be happening on stage? How do we also secure, the integrity of this is still a stage production? Because if not, then you're just going to go and watch a movie, which we've already seen the movie. The movie's great, so this is the difference. This is the difference thing on it. So I mean, we just describe it as an intimate show with a big finish, and a different experience that you've had, hopefully, in a Kansas City theater, as far as how we integrate the screen.
And that's because especially people that haven't, there's so many people that have seen like Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4, and just either they were too young or just didn't watch Rocky 1, right?
Right.
And Rocky, I mean, that was an Academy Award level movie that, I mean, Stallone was nominated for Best Actor. It was such a sweet love story. There were so many elements of it. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4, right? I love all the shit, right? But there was a level of innocence and storytelling that existed in Rocky that got lost along the way and then turned into, the 80s and the cocaine-fueled Rocky 4. You're like watching one MTV video like, holy shit, what's happening right now? James Brown and Apollo Creed, I can't believe it. And that's what I like so much about the Rocky Live on Stage, the focus on the relationship between Rocky and, Adrian. And, in the movies, it's such an iconic scene when she's running to the ring with the red beret and everything else. But there was a reason why you cared. There was a reason why you cared, Rocky, because, like, my little girl want to get mad. What do you mean he doesn't win at the end? Like, he doesn't win, you have to understand, but he finds love. Just watch the movie.
He wins in a different way.
Exactly. But so you guys focus on that emotion and really bring it out. And I mentioned this to you when you were on my radio show this week. There was great chemistry between you and Adrian. Got to have it. And great scenes that make you care that Rocky's going to go the distance with Apollo and make you care that these two people that are seemingly so lonely have a chance to connect. And that's why I thought it was so effective watching it opening night.
Yeah, and again, I appreciate that. And obviously, mentioning Jasmine Hall is a must. She is, as you saw, she is phenomenal. And as I said yesterday on the show, she's kind of newer to the KC area, but I know she's already making a splash. She's basically been working nonstop since the moment that she's
what a voice!
Got here. Oh, power voice, great look,
and that's the
vulnerable,
cool thing. Like with
strong,
you and her, both of you, when you're there in that theater, you feel the power of your voices. You know what I mean? It's like such a good venue with the acoustics and everything else, and that's what adds to it.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun to work on, and I agree. We've been increasing the capacity of how to use all the surround sound that's in the theater, and this is, I think, the first production where they're actually getting those side speakers to really work in unison with us and the band. But the difference between something that's on a screen, whether it's a movie or a television show, is you can get like 3-4 notes, ding, 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 and you see a rusted out pickup truck, and you're like, oh, I know where I'm at. Like, you get a mood in 2 seconds. Stage, you have to get spoon fed a little bit more. So that's why I think it's pretty interesting to go watch Rocky and then come and see our show, or vice versa. And you'll see, you can look at Stallone's puppy dog brown eyes and know how he's feeling about Gazzo taking money or not giving him any more jobs or Mickey flipping him shit or whatever it is. Up there on the stage, or Jasmine or Shane St. James who's killing it as Apollo for us, or Rick Averill that's doing our Mickey. We have to give a little bit more, show a little bit more, whether it's physically or be a little bit more inflection vocally, and obviously the music just adds to that. So, yeah.
To your point, like in the movie, Adrian's got those glasses, and then when he takes the glasses off, I'm like, oh shit, hey, hold on, Adrian.
Yeah.
And then she dresses different, and it's just you see her evolution, but you see that also in this production, and so and you mentioned the Apollo character. How much
gotta
fun?
have him?
But how much fun is that though?
I mean,
right?
He's the greatest showman villain out there. There's a part of you that roots for him.
Rest in peace, Carl Weathers.
It's 100%. How apropos was that his passing during our little run there? There's been a lot of mention of Rocky, and I'm hearing Eye of the Tiger in commercials, and
right,
like it's that somebody was sitting in the front row on Sunday that had the recent Life magazine, and it's Rocky and Adrian and Carl Weathers.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and like I'm just sitting there. I was like, it's everywhere right now, so it's pretty great.
And Burt Young recently passed away too.
That's right, I did forget.
Iconic as Paulie, and you know the names, but my boys love the guy that played Paulie.
Dude, okay,
he was hilarious.
So check this out. This is going to blow your mind. One, his name is Chris Clements.
Good, okay,
and he is one of the best people you would ever meet in your entire life.
He was funny.
He is Julie's husband. Julie Danielson, who's our artistic director and playing piano.
I'm like, Rocky, I'm a little slow. You will see it connect in my brain. I'm like, okay, all right.
And the thing that you don't know,
right?
He was playing guitar all night up in the band.
Holy shit, was he really?
Yep. So
now that fucking blows my mind. That's cool.
He's up there tucked in the third tier of the wing, right next to the drummer. You could probably see, but he was up against the curtain, so you couldn't see him. So he's up there fingering away and doing his thing, and then dropping, then running off the side stage and making an entrance and giving a killer performance.
I can barely read my fucking iPad and think at the same time and talk, and I'm trying to do this podcast. I think I'm multitasking. This guy's playing guitar and then giving a killer performance as Paulie.
Yeah, and he's also the production manager, so he's like he comes in and opens up the theater for us. He was the guy that loaded everything into Q Lab, which is responsible for what you see up on screen. He does it all. He's everything.
It's
we love you, Chris.
It's funny too because after the show, you came out to say hi, and that was really cool. And we were talking, and I'm thinking, this motherfucker's tired, because that is a physically demanding role. Because you just get done staging the fight, which you're in a ring staging a fight on stage. But also, you're running fucking around doing all this shit. You're belting out songs, and then you got to calm down and do a tender love scene, and then you're back belting out a song, then you're fighting, then you're training. Is that how? Right? It's pretty physically taxing, right?
Yeah, I mean, singing is a contact sport sometimes, and so is musical theater on occasion. This track, no doubt, is very, very taxing, and God bless Jasmine, because I mean, I basically start sweating about the end of that first song, that very first little clip.
Those lights are hot.
Yeah, and I just don't stop. And so by the time we're in a love scene or anything like that, I'm just dripping, and she's trying to be all sweet and brush my hair out of my face, and I'm like, this sucks for you. I'm so sorry, but she kills it, and she's. I'm wearing a lot of fleece and sweatpants and sweatsuits, so she's able to wipe her hands on my shoulder and kind of get through it. But she's a trooper on that for sure.
So we've referenced Music Theater Kansas City,
correct?
And you're an original. That's where you got your start. So for people that don't know about this hidden gem, I don't want to say it's hidden, but more people should know about it. mtkc.org. But tell people Music Theater Kansas City, what it is and how you first got started with them.
Great. So they've been around the Kansas City area for 30 years. They actually started down in Wichita a handful of years before that, and back then it was called Music Theater for Young People. Then Carrie Danielson Panzik moved up to Kansas City and expanded, and a handful of years ago, they rebranded to Music Theater Kansas City. What they primarily do is theater training for young people,
which is awesome.
It's great. It's such a cool opportunity. It teaches life skills. I've got friends from the years past that I used to do shows with that are no longer in theater, and they still will tell you to this day some of the best people and the best life skills I learned by going through this program. You learn how to work fast. You learn how to multitask. You learn how to memorize. You learn how to prioritize. And you also you learn how to give in and trust, which I think is, kind of a difficult thing for a lot of people. It's like, all right, you're my partner. You gotta be there on the time so we can have this scene or whatever it is.
You have to have a lot of courage to get on stage too and do that. I mean, that's people don't. I mean, whether you're performing, whether you're a musician, an actor, like I can hide behind a microphone, and unless right now people are looking at me, but most of the time people can't see me, and that gives me a level of comfort. It's a different thing when you're out there and you're putting yourself on the line in front of all these people. That takes balls.
Yeah, you're a little exposed. You definitely feel vulnerable. I still get twinges of, I guess, anxiety would be the right word, but I've also kind of decided that I might be a low-level adrenaline junkie, and I'm like, that's what I'm kind of getting off on, is being like, oh, is this going to suck?
Right.
Am I going to do this right? Am I going to be okay?
Yeah.
No, this is going to be great. And then you kind of, you barrel through that, and it starts rolling, and then you learn, oh, somebody's mic didn't come on, or somebody missed an, like you live theater is, it's a crapshoot, man.
It's funnier and shit because like I MC a lot of charity events and speaking engagements and up at the podium in front of a bunch of people, and there's something about the idea that I might fuck up that kind of gets me like, okay, all right, and you feel because you care, right?
Up, yeah.
It's almost like that you're getting ready to go down the roller coaster, like I might fuck this up, and if I do, all these people, but I'm not gonna. Let's go,
right?
So that's what you're talking about. That is. I should look at it that way. It's almost like an adrenaline fix, huh?
But it's also interesting, too, because, I mean, a couple of things for sure happened the night that you saw the show, but I'm guessing you didn't know.
The only thing that I saw is, and it was barely anything, is when the girls were in the pet shop.
Yeah.
And they're getting ready to go out, and one of them walked away and knocked over the bird cage. But then it went dark, and you could see it, but a couple people kind of chuckled. But that was the only...
Yeah,
that's the only thing that I can remember.
Yeah.
What else fucked up?
Oh, I mean,
should I have seen something? I mean,
so during the beginning of the Eye of the Tiger montage,
okay,
right, and we've just left Rocky's apartment, and now Mickey and Rocky and Mike are up in Mickey's gym. At some point, Mickey says something to the effect of like, "You're driving me crazy. You're punching off balance, and let me do this string situation."
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So normally the string allows me to stand about hips width apart.
All right.
And when he pulled it out of his pocket that night, it got wrapped around, and when he pulled it tight, it was about that big.
I looked at it and go, how the fuck's that helping him? Wait a minute.
Don't know.
Mick, you're drunk. Why are you trying to get him to fight with his fucking feet like that?
I had to go with it. Like, there was nothing else we could do. It was like, what am I going to do, stop the show? You have an extra string in your pocket? You don't. So it's things like that you just go, okay, how are we going to deal with it,
So then how much did you look at Stallone's performance of this? Did you avoid it because you didn't want to, mimic what he did? How did you go about, because this is an iconic character, right?
100%.
So what do you do in preparation to be Rocky Balboa?
Well, so, yeah, multi-answer to that. So, yes, you cannot get away from him. You can't get away from him. They wrote it into the lyrics of the song. They wrote it into the book, in the script. You knows,
right,
likes, all of these little isms that are Stallone / Rocky, they're in there. So you can't get away from that. And it would be really difficult to go the other end and do music theater and be like, yo, Adrian, it's me, Rocky, you want to go out on a date? Like, that just wouldn't play.
Jazz hands.
Yeah, like, that just wouldn't play. So you have to be able to touch on the character without making it a caricature. And the best thing I can think of is that iced tea commercial. Nothing's over, give me something to drink.
Yeah.
Like that. You can't do that.
Right.
Because then you're making fun of it. And that's not what it is. So I attempted, still continuing to attempt, to stay a little bit lower in my register. Talk just a little bit slower, and you get those, and he says a lot of things with L's, like life and like, and you just try to grab like a couple things and then just commit to it. And that's the other thing is as long as you commit to pretty much anything in life, it's going to ring true for you, and it's going to be believable if I'm up there. And again, I'm not trying to 100% be Stallone, but I'm also I'm trying to pay homage to it, right? So that was the elements of going down that road, the voice. But like I said, there was no other option because that's the words that are sitting in front of me. I have to use them. So let's watch a little Stallone. Let's watch the movies. See how it fits in my body too, and kind of hopefully find some sort of happy medium. Because if you listen to, Stallone's like Mensa level smart. You listen to interviews with him, he's just got knowledge all day long. But he also had wasn't he born like a little paralysis or something on his face, and it messed with his vocal cord, and he had gone to
the lip,
he had gone to theater schools and voice stuff to correct it his entire life. But if you still listen to him now, he'll drop into a Rocky in a second, and I'm like, oh God, that's not your voice. Your voice isn't Rocky. It's something different, but it's kind of crazy. So
two of my favorite Stallone stories. One, I don't know if you've ever watched the Rocky IV documentary he did about re-editing it.
I just watched it.
Oh fuck, I love that.
Yeah.
Because that was such an iconic movie when I was a kid. But then to hear him say, basically, I fucking hated it.
I would have done it differently.
What they did to it.
Yeah.
And because he said it was like watching like a series of MTV music videos all just put together one after another, and you could understand that, and you're kind of like, hold on, don't shit on Rocky IV. I love Rocky IV, but then you hear him talking about it, and the best way I can compare it to is he made it more like Rocky. It was softer, more relationships. They had that scene that was not in the original Rocky IV, where Apollo and Adrian and Rocky are in the kitchen talking, and she doesn't want Apollo to go back and fight, and you see it's just more depth to it, right?
Right.
And like what fucking guy? I looked at it and said, no, fuck that. Let's do another training montage, which are great. When I was 12, it was awesome. But then we went to the movie theater and watched when they released the new version of Rocky IV. I was like, fuck. I didn't think how different it could be, and it was so different. It was awesome.
And it made it better. Can you imagine also fucking holding on to that for 30 years and be like, I gotta fucking change this. I gotta change this.
Oh, he was. Just you could tell how much it bothered him.
Yeah.
Like he looked at one thing. He looked at. He said, oh shit, they did that. And the other thing is we had Henry Winkler, who I love, on the show a couple weeks ago.
Awesome.
And I asked him about Lords of Flatbush, which is the movie he was in with Stallone before he was Fonzie and before he was Rocky. And I said, did you have any inkling that, was there something special about you two? Because within 2 years, you would be responsible for two of the most iconic pop culture characters in the world.
Yeah.
Rocky and Fonzie.
Yeah.
And he told this fucking story about how after they had done Lords of Flatbush, Sylvester Stallone called him, his car broken down. Henry Winkler goes and picks him up. He's got the script. And Henry Winkler,
dog, right?
Yeah, but Henry Winkler sells it to ABC because he had some pull since he's Fonzie,
right?
And then he goes back and tells Stallone, "Hey, I got this much money for it. It was a good amount of money back then, but here's the deal. They don't want you to be in it, and they're going to go with someone else. And so no, I can't. I don't care how much money. You can't do that. And so Henry Winkler had to go back to ABC and tell him, I need the script back. We'll give you the money back. It's not going to work. And he said he had to pull some strings to get it done. And then a couple of years later, it's Rocky.
Yeah.
What a fucking story.
Crazy. That's I don't know every story in Hollywood, but I've heard definitely things that are like that. Scripts that sit on shelves for 6-7 years that end up being,
who knew?
An award-winning situation, or just one of the most beloved, or just there's so much content out there.
He wrote it after watching an Ali fight.
Yeah, and he did it in 3 days, like a 3-day write, and all of a sudden it's as iconic as it is, Academy Award nominated, all the things. It's so crazy.
Weirdos like me that are obsessed with the whole series. Okay, so let's talk about you a little bit. So when did you start with acting, singing, entertainment?
When I was in 9th grade. Carrie Danielson Panzik, who's the executive director over at MTKC and subsequently Julie Danielson's mother, she was promoting what was called 7 Days of Broadway down at Bethel College, just outside of Wichita. It's a small Mennonite college down there. You show up on day one, Sunday, you check into your room, have the parents meeting, the parents boogie out, you audition. You dance, you sing, you act. They cast the show that night. They teach it over the next 4 days. Then you start adding in a band and costumes and lights, and by Sunday you're doing a full production.
So did you want to do it, or were your parents like, you're doing this? Or like,
my parents had no clue. My mom still to this day doesn't even have the radio on in the car.
Well, fine.
Like, how are you not listening to anything?
Well, turn it on 810, would you please?
Yeah, I'll just leave it on there.
Right.
She'll never touch it. Yeah, so they were doing Grease, and I was a sports guy, but who doesn't like that soundtrack?
Oh, I love Grease.
Come on, Travolta and all the things. So I was like, that sounds like fun. I'll go just see what this is all about with no expectations whatsoever. Somehow, Carrie made the choice to cast me as Danny. So I got to,
you motherfucker.
I got to kiss a
You've been Danny Zuko in Rocky Balboa.
I got to kiss a girl. I'm like 14. I got to kiss a senior who graduating senior, and I was like 14 years old. Are you kidding me? Like, and nobody's throwing stuff at me. The sweating wasn't as intense. Well, I'd
have fucking done anything just to be a T-Bird.
Dude,
I went to St. Pius, and the fucking year before I got there, they did Grease. And then 4 years, I'm like, every year I go, hey, are you guys going to do Grease? And no, we're not. We don't repeat. Grease is gone. Like, what the fuck? I just, but then also, the chances of me getting the role would have been very slim. Maybe I could have been Sonny. Maybe I could have been one of the fat T-Bird. I don't know. But I wasn't going to be Danny. But fuck, you did Danny Zuko.
I had played. This was my very first thing that I did. I'm not saying I was super great at it. But
favorite Grease song that you performed?
I mean, Summer Lovin'.
Yeah.
It's so iconic, and it's so fun, and it's a good story. Like, just this back and forth thing. So that was great. Yeah, but again, I'm not saying I was so great at it, but holy shit, did it hit? And I was.
So then
I got the bug. Like, you just, they call it the bug. It is a full sickness to want to do this for a living. And I got it. I started filtering away from doing sports, which I'd been doing all my upbringing and relatively well, arguably. And yeah, I mean, like, if you'd talked to me 10 days before I went down to that camp, I would have told you, I'm going to go play baseball someplace in college, like high, low, medium, like whatever the level was going to be. Like, that was the track. Then that summer happened, and it was Summer Lovin'. Forget it. Like, it just changed. So that's what happened.
And look, shit, when you go somewhere like that, everyone there's talented at some level. But then you'll have kids that separate themselves, and you go, oh boy, they're really fucking talented. Or they might, they're leaving Kansas City talented. Yeah. And that's what you did. When was it realized that, okay, this is more than just what I'm doing here in Kansas City. I could actually go to fucking Broadway, or I could go be on TV or in the movies. When did you realize that, or when did someone tell you that, or was there ever a moment like, okay, this could be my fucking career here?
Yeah, jeez. Honestly, I think a lot of performers can struggle with confidence, and I think the real answer is, like, I think I'm still trying to figure out if I can do this for a living.
But did someone tell you, or someone like, hey, you should pursue this? Because I feel like you gotta, like, even when I started in radio, I didn't fucking know, like, this might last a year or two. But then people would tell me that I trusted, like, you know what, you're good at this.
All right, so check this out. See if this resonates with you. I do feel that I had a number of people along the way that were like, oh, you did a great job in this particular production, whatever it may be. What happened was I kept on getting cast. And I kept on getting cast in pretty big roles.
Okay.
And knowing that I wasn't the most practiced compared to the other kids that weren't playing baseball and stuff from 8 through 14 or 15 or whatever it was, the ones that were going and doing vocal lessons and doing workshops with the local community theater and stuff like that, I wasn't versed like they were. So something's going on, whether it was a look or a voice or a behavior or just an essence. Like, I kept on getting cast. So that was sort of like the first thing. It's like, okay, so something's going right. There's something, there's validity to this in some capacity. But then I went to New York and finished. I went to KU for a couple of years. I ended up going to school in New York on the Upper West Side. That was just a training academy. And you get thrown in with a bunch of people from all over the world, but namely over the country, and they are 18 to 26 coming in, and this is what they want to do. And
how intimidating is that? Though?
You're
now
like,
you're in New York.
Shit. I'm like, I got other people around me that can kill it too. And wow, not only are like they're practiced, and they've gotten cast too, because they wouldn't be in New York City if they weren't getting stuff back home.
It's like when a high school kid goes to D1 and basketball, like, oh, everyone was the fucking star of their high school
Exactly.
team.
Yeah, and it's like, I better catch up. The game's a lot faster over
Right.
here and stuff like. It's exactly like that. But what is really interesting, and I know more of the New York scene than I do of the LA scene, even though I did live there too. But like the Broadway community is minute. There's a handful of the casting directors that are responsible for the majority of the shows. And by the time that I was in year, 4 or 5 of hitting auditions on the regular, like multiple ones per week for commercials, for plays, for musicals, for out of town, in town, whatever, all the things. It was, I would walk in for my 2:15 time slot because I am 5'10" to 6'2", age old, light eyes, and it'd be like Bobby, Joe, Mike, Ricky, and it'd be all of us. Like there's 6 of us.
You just named New Edition just
exactly.
now.
It's all New Edition. Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike. But yeah, you walk in. It's like, okay, so we're this section of humans that are in the pool. Right
You're
now.
looking everyone over, like, all right.
Yeah, but then eventually you start seeing it's like, all right, well, which one of us is going to get it? It's going to be one of us.
I'm better than that guy.
Well, isn't it
I've seen him. He fucking sucks. I mean, you're sizing everyone up, right?
You do, but then I also had a lot of opportunities to sit inside a casting room and be the reader for people that were coming in to audition. And after about 4 people, they would forget that I was fucking there.
Yeah.
And they start saying outlandish shit. And like I had learned, I was just learning things. I'm like, oh, you were talking about chicken salad. You weren't even listening,
Right,
or they'd
right.
say like, oh, that person's, under contract for 5 months. And I'm like, they killed it. Get them out of their contract. They're like, they don't want to deal with the headache. So there's so much it's such a hard thing because you are the CEO of your own company and your product is you. And you're responsible to be 100% of whatever you can do that day. Now, some days you feel like shit and your 100% is really 60, but you got to give 60, you have to give 100% of your 60. But what's insane is you can absolutely destroy it. And the reason why you don't get it has nothing to do with you. It's just a circumstance thing. You look like somebody's ex-girlfriend, boy. Like, you have no idea what it is. And it just doesn't, like...
Maybe they were talking about fucking egg salad or something.
Yeah, like I did Footloose on Broadway, and one of the guys that I beat out in that final callback was Matthew Morrison from Glee. He's the grandson of the Duke of John Wayne. And if you look at him, they look exactly the same. And then 4 years later, whatever it was, it's me and Matthew Morrison down for the role of Link in Hairspray on Broadway. Guess who got it? Not me. He got it, and then all of a sudden, it just took off for him from there. But it's like, so I was quote better than him for Footloose, but not so much for Hairspray. It's like, come on,
What role did you play in Footloose?
Chuck Cranston, the bad boy boyfriend before Ren comes to town.
There you
go. Talking about? Yeah.
Ren and Ariel.
Well,
that was a fucking movie.
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon looked like he was. I mean, I love Kevin Bacon, but he's like 35-year-old teenager.
Yeah, but I mean
but it was fantastic.
Right. No, it was
and
such
what
a
a
good movie.
great soundtrack that still holds up.
Yeah. Agreed.
So okay, here's this might be a tough question to ask, but fuck it. Okay, you got kids. Let's say think ahead to grandkids, and you're no longer around.
Okay.
And you can leave for them one piece of your work to say, hey, this is what your grandpa did. This is when he was at his best. That you're most proud of. One, and you can't pick Rocky.
Okay.
Because then they're always fucking promoting what he's doing now. Although we want you to go see Rocky, because again, I'm in it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Please.
But what are you most proud of that you want people to see down the road when you're gone?
Up to this point, my quick answer is going to be I've lived many places across this country. And one place that I lived for a handful of years was Houston, Texas, obviously. And we did a production of Bonnie and Clyde, the musical down there. And I played Clyde's brother, Buck. And it was a pretty decent-sized role, more acting heavy than it was singing, but a beautiful show. And I don't exactly know what happened in that production, aside from we had a phenomenal cast and just everything was amazing from top to bottom, back and forward. But for some reason, that was the production and the role where I freed up. I was out of my head. I wasn't trying to be. I didn't have to try to be the lead. I didn't have to try to look a certain. I didn't have to be anything that what I was in the moment on any given night. And the cool thing was, the actor who was playing my wife was one of those people that, like, on a dime, 8:05 there, 8:06 there, hitting the notes, but like just stable, just the whole time, the whole way through. I could just go in and play.
Right.
If I wanted to change the way I said a line that night, I could. I could say it in the moment. I could choose to yell it. I could choose to cry. I could choose to do whatever. And I was like, oh man, like this is Nirvana. Like this is what it's supposed to feel like. And I'm not doing anything that's going to throw them off. I'm just being present, which in my thought, my theory of what acting is, that's kind of like the biggest chunk. It's like, I need to react to what you're going to say right now next. So when I'm on stage with Jasmine or with Shane or Rick or Chris or Ariel or anybody who's up there saying lines back and forth with me, the goal is for me to go, what did you just say and how did you just say it? And how am I going to react to it? Even though I know what my next line is, I got to make it sound like I don't. I got to make it sound like it's a conversation like you and I are having right now. So being present is the key, and that role, I was the most present.
What do you enjoy more, acting or singing?
I guess I would kind of have to say acting, only because I think I understand it more.
Yeah.
I love music. I mean, I think the human condition shows that it's one of the most sense memories. You hear that song, oh, I remember high school. Oh, I remember that time. Oh, I remember that road trip. Like, whatever. I'm one of those people that the hair can stand up on my arm when I hear certain chord progressions and stuff like that. And I love music. And I love singing. I do. Like it feels interesting, and it's also very, it's work. But there's something about acting that I can get into the minutia and really break it down and basically overthink it. That is kind of fascinating for me.
It's interesting because I can't fucking sing, but I wish I could. I feel like that would be like the coolest thing in the world, just to be able to belt out a song and sound good.
I would think that you would just be able to open up and have like this really nice low
thing going on. You do a little karaoke and do a karaoke Elvis.
That's all you do.
And so, okay, so let's talk about some TV that you've done.
Okay.
And one of the most iconic TV actors, I mean, he does everything, film, whatever, but Peter Dinklage, right? He's one of the most respected actors, multiple Emmys. Have you ever partied with Peter Dinklage or crossed paths with Peter Dinklage?
I absolutely have. He is one of my best friend's little brothers. No pun intended. Johnny Dinklage is one of my great friends, and he is an amazing musician. That dude has played with everybody.
Wow.
Everybody. He was on tour with Rush. He's played with everybody from Britney Spears, Michael Jackson, like just you name it. Johnny's been on an album, done a recording with him. He's incredible.
That's a hell of a range right there. Britney Spears, Michael Jackson, Rush.
I'm just saying, and he's a violinist.
I like it.
He's the concert master for Hamilton on Broadway and has been since day one.
Because I love hearing stories like that. Because people don't realize the people that that are at the front, like Britney Spears, whoever else, wildly talented. But there's so many great musicians behind them and studio musicians that never get the credit that they deserve. And like Peter Dinklage, getting back to him, who doesn't love him? He was so great in Game of Thrones, and I'm such a huge fan. But he also has this element sometimes like he might be an asshole in real life, and so you have a story where you thought maybe he was.
Yeah, I mean, I called him an asshole after meeting him. So yeah, so Johnny's a great friend of mine, but I had actually met Pete three years before I ever met Johnny. Went to a party, like a poker table party situation in this very small New York apartment, like you do. And I knocked on the door, and I actually didn't know whose house or whose place we were going to.
You were just going with friends?
Going with friends to their friends.
So you don't fucking know?
I don't
you
know
don't have any ties?
I don't know anybody.
Okay,
I'm walking
we've all
in,
been there,
yeah.
done. Okay, got it.
And I'm not saying that we weren't a little intoxicated.
Whatever it is, but you're there.
We were a little bit. So I knock on the door, and the door opens, and there's no fucking buddy there. Well, nobody at my eye level.
Right.
And then I look down, and it's Pete, and he had, and this is before he had done a couple of other small independent films and stuff like that, but he was not Peter Dinklage that we know.
Right.
And he opens the door, and after that take of hi, he looks at me, and he turns sideways, and he kind of hunches over like Notre Dame a little bit, and yes, come in, follow. And I was like, okay, I'm way too fucked up to deal
He
with this.
thought you were being an asshole, maybe looking at him,
maybe.
looking him over.
I don't know, but the funny thing is that we, that night goes by, everything's fine, everybody gets along, everything's good. But then I meet Johnny, and we become just bromance instantly, just good friends, good guys, and hanging out all the time. He's like, "Oh, you got to come meet my brother," and I was like, "Absolutely." And then I was like, "Wait a minute, motherfucker."
Yeah.
You asshole. And so I got to yell at him about it. Be like, you totally fucked with me. He just looked up and he smiled and he was like, hey, what's up? And, he's a very good dude. But, he's got a sense of humor was built on his upbringing. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, they're a great family, talented as all get out. And, just good people. So, but he's a lot of fun. I was telling you this yesterday. I was at their dad's funeral, and that's when this whole idea of Game of Thrones was kind of being pitched
that's
around.
Crazy.
So I was just like, what? Who? What? What's happening? All right.
Who would have known?
It's this thing. They're pitching it to HBO. We'll see what happens.
Right.
And lo and behold,
it worked out.
It all happened.
It was successful. Okay, so I didn't throw Nate under the bus, my co-host, yesterday, but now I will.
Great, because he's not here, so he can't defend himself.
We talk about Rocky, and we talk about he's never seen Rocky.
Come on, Nate.
He's still never fucking seen Rocky, and he said, I'm gonna watch it because
I'm just saying in 2 weeks I'm unemployed, so if you need a new sidekick,
well, there it is.
Right there.
I don't know if you caught this when we came in to record our spots. Do you remember what he fucking asked?
Yeah, he's like, he doesn't win.
He goes, yeah. He goes, I'm sorry. I said, so who wins the fight?
Right.
And I thought he was fucking around just to make me mad, because when we first started doing the show together, I found out he didn't want to tell me that he hadn't seen The Godfather because he knew I'd fly off the fucking handle.
Has he seen it?
He saw it because I got hot. I just fucking stop this shit.
He's going to have to show up to
and so he's
the station tomorrow. And
never seen Rocky, and so this next encounter I want to ask you about involves Ted Levine.
Yep.
Who played, and this is so fucking weird because it shouldn't. Why would this be one of my favorite characters in a movie ever? Because this guy was a psychopath, Buffalo Bill in The Silence of the Lambs. So when we were having that discussion yesterday, Nate didn't know what the fuck we were talking about because he hasn't seen Silence of the Lambs.
Has he left his house?
I don't know. The boy, what the fuck?
Did he miss the 90s or something?
I'm not coming up with obscure movies.
No,
it's the fucking Silence of the Lambs. And so he was like, oh, you're just kind of laughing along with what he assumed was a funny anecdote.
Great. I had no idea that he didn't know what was going on.
So you had a guest starring experience on Monk,
right?
And you and this is something else I've always wanted to do on camera. You fucking died
all the time.
They
killed me on Numbers. They killed me on Monk.
They're putting you in a body bag.
I'm telling you.
And so tell me the story from there about running into Buffalo Bill.
Right. So even though I get killed very early on in this episode, it still takes X number of days to shoot because that's the filming world. And I actually had, it's a Monk, so there were flashback things. So I got to do a week, maybe a little bit north of a week on that production, which was great. And every time that they, yell cut, they got to move lights. They got to shut down lights and let them cool down. There's a lot involved to get 30 seconds of film. It's bananas what that requires. Even in this day and age with digital and stuff like that, you still have to. If you're shooting outside, a plane went up, we got to shoot it again, just stuff. So every time that you hit, we're changing takes or whatever. You either have a trailer or you have some place to go retire to and just sit around and wait. So basically, film acting, you either got to read a lot of books or learn how to play solitaire or be able to have a conversation with people. So they set me down next to the two gents that are playing the detectives, and they're regulars on the show as well. And I just did not put it together. Ted Levine, because Ted Levine in Silence of the Lambs is looks like he's coked out. It was it's rail thin, long hair. Just
every time I see the guy, I think about him.
And now on Monk, he's 25, 30 years older. He's got a huge mustache. Hair's completely different. 3 days I'm sitting next to these guys, and we're having conversations. They're nice to me, but they're also in their own world. They're discussing the scenes and all this stuff. I have no idea what he said. No idea what it was, but he said something, and he said it so close to the voice, that voice, and my eyes got so big, and I leaned forward and I looked at him, and all I could say as a question was, "It puts the lotion in the basket?" And he was like, "Yeah, I did that." And he didn't give a shit. He was whatever.
So he didn't shy away with, he was like, I'd be proud of that.
No, he wasn't like, it wasn't like,
some guys I'm known for that fucking, I don't.
No, it was just, he was just kind of like, yeah, that's me. And I was like, okay, I gotta go talk to this bush for a second because I'm freaking out.
I can never fucking meet him because I would fucking fanboy so inappropriately because I don't feel like he wants to be fanboyed about that. About that fucking role. And so and here we go. My wife cautions me, you don't have to say everything on your stupid podcast, but sometimes I want to. And so that reminds me, that's why I got such a kick out of that. Imagine what it must be to live with me if you're my wife. I can't ever stop fucking around and laughing and joking and, doing inappropriate shit. And so she knows that's one of my favorite movies. And so I can promise you, maybe 100 times in our marriage, we've been together for 3 decades, that she has walked into the bathroom, and as I'm getting out of the shower, I put the towel around my shoulders, do the old tuck rule, and I'd fuck me, and do the lipstick.
So hard.
And every time she's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" What do you? I don't like this. There's no one else here. You're doing this for yourself. What the fuck is wrong with you? And guess what?
Things are wrong with us.
I get a big chuckle out of it. I like it to the point now I've done it where I got the song Goodbye Horses by Q Lazarus. Play the song. She hears it. She goes, "I'm not coming in there. I just come in here. I got to talk to you. I have a mole I need you to look at. Come on, this is a safety measure, please."
Exactly.
And she knows. She hears the fucking music.
That's
why I got to know. You know what? And she's thinking right now, it's not great. And I'm going to go ahead and say there's something wrong with me. But God damn it, you met Buffalo Bill, and I'm envious.
I got another one for you that I didn't tell you about when I did Numbers. Same thing. I get killed, but not till the end. But had a nice guest starring thing. Took a week to shoot, and it was all about a Mormon style cult thing. So multiple wives was sort of like the theme of what was going on, and the cult leader gets hung up. The Numbers crew gets everybody blockaded inside this hideout and surround them, etc. But so we're shooting this one night, and it's in a car, and again we're in a hold, and we're waiting for lights to adjust or the camera to get ready or whatever it is. So we're just sitting back there chatting, and I'm chatting with the guy who's playing the cult leader, and he's like, this acting thing, I just moved out here from Kentucky X number of years ago, and everybody told me it's gonna be hard. He's like, that's been really easy for me, and I'm just listening.
I bet you like hearing that, don't you?
It's like okay, fuck you. All right. But again, I'm looking at him, and it's not registering because he doesn't look the same. And again, he says something, and I went, "Holy shit, Franks and Beans.
Oh shit!
It's you're that dude from Something About Mary.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is happening in my world where I'm working with all these people?
Did he like to be reminded of that?
I mean, he was like, yeah, no, I mean, like that was like the first thing that he goes, I got that like the moment that I got off the bus, and I was like, I don't understand.
Is that good or bad?
I don't understand.
Yeah.
He's like, I've basically booked everything else that I've been on. I'm like, you sure as shit have, but holy crap, I didn't know that's who it was.
Wow.
First, so yeah, that
I
was
didn't have an idea he became a cult leader. That was. I need to find this episode of Numbers.
Yeah, it's called The Seven Wives.
The Seven Wives.
Yeah.
So now, so again, we're with Drew Starlin. He's the star of Rocky. I'm sure all of Music Theater Kansas City is mortified at where this conversation has gone, courtesy of my stupid mouth. And look, it's you see by the logo, it's not safe for work. We're talking about stuff.
Right. Just a conversation.
For some reason, people like it. I don't know. So tell me about your career now. You said you got a couple more weeks until April 28th. Until Rocky, and hopefully it extends, whatever. But April 28th is the last performance. Then what happens?
Then I'll actually transition back to New York, where my family is. My wife and my kids moved there this past summer in August, and I was supposed to have been there a lot sooner than I ended up being there because I'm not there yet. I ended up doing a directing gig, and this has taken a very healthy amount of time to prep. Rocky has taken a very healthy amount of time to prep.
Oh shit! I thought you were talking about this podcast.
This podcast has taken a lot of time to prep.
I've
been thinking about this for 6 months. So I'll be going up there. Our daughter goes to school for ballet, or that's not true. She goes to school for dance. At SUNY Purchase, which is just north of the city.
That's awesome.
Our son's a semi-pro soccer player, and his club is up there, and so I'll go up and kind of do the family thing, and I'll kind of do the actor thing, which is, well, the job is really auditioning. It's not really acting. It's looking for work is really what the job entails. That is the truth of performance. I'm not sure how much that rings true for radio, but I'd have to assume at the beginning it would.
Oh yeah,
it'd feel like you're trying to hit this show or create that show or whatever it is, and try to find your spot. Right?
Everything and anything this radio station would have me do just to get my voice on the air.
Right.
And you just want to get people, you get your name out there and show people what you can do.
Right. That's basically what happens. Every commercial wraps, every show finishes, every play has a closing date. So yeah, for the acting world, it's like, okay, what's next? And sometimes you know, and sometimes you don't. So that'll be the next step and jaunt. And the nice thing is, now that I've come back here, done a few things, especially with MTKC, it's like, oh, okay, I've got another set of skills. I directed a show over the Christmas break that was a lot of fun to do, and I really love sitting around the table with the creative team and talking through how we were going to put this thing to life. Subsequently, there was a lot of those conversations for Rocky too, especially how we're going to not have a ring that comes down and extends over the audience, like I was talking about at the beginning. I really enjoy the setting up creative process, and now I kind of feel like I've got at least a few notches on the belt of that experience that gets another opportunity to go like, well, if I'm not going to be in it, can I direct it, or can I do something on that end, stuff like that. So yeah, that'll be the next thing.
How often do you get back to Kansas City?
Well, my folks live here. They live out in Lee's Summit.
Oh, great!
And we actually, when we left Houston, we actually moved to Kansas City. So we were here for about four or 5 years. So I mean, over the last 4 or 5 years, all the time. But kind of regularly, usually a couple times a year, stuff like that.
It had to be so cool to be able to perform here, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a lovely home. This production has been this crazy homecoming thing with Carrie and Julie. There are actually a couple of the younger castmates who I remember were campers, and they were kids in the program, and now they're old enough to be on the pro side. And it's like, I've worked with you guys. This is awesome. Rick, who plays Mickey, he and his wife are staple legends in Lawrence from the theater side, so I've been interacting with them. His wife was the first person that gave me the idea of it being a craft, and he was the first person I saw. So there's this lovely cyclical homecoming feel for this production, and I would argue that it comes through from an emotional standpoint too. Well, you saw it. It's touching.
I love it. mtkc.org, Rocky Live on Stage, runs through April 28th at B&B Live Theater, 435 in Midland. You got to go see it. Buy tickets at mtkc.org. And again, there's an orchestra, and so there's the live music element and terrific songs, and and it stays true to the theme and the mood of Rocky. And so again, tell people why they should come out and see Rocky live on stage. And like you mentioned, the ring is in the middle of the stage. You use it also as a makeshift skating rink. So it's so cool to see how you were able to pull off the different elements of Rocky that you had to have, that you couldn't skip over. You got to have the skating scene. You got to have the fight scene. You got to have her in the apartment. It's so great. The pet shop. So tell people again why they should come out and how awesome this production is.
Well, I think what's really interesting about Rocky, the script, whether you're talking about the musical or the film, Rocky is a Rocky story. We talked about the 3-day thing, the turn down, the CBS, the Henry Winkler, all that stuff.
Right.
And it is this lovely, intimate show that has this epic ending. So our version of Rocky is a Rocky story because we don't have that money and we don't have the capabilities inside that theater to do something that. So we had to do it in a very creative way. And the way that we chose was we chose to strip everything down. The Broadway production, everything got really tight. The ring acted as the ceiling for his apartment, for Polly's apartment, for Adrian, for the pet shop. Mm-hmm. Everything was really tight and compressed, making Rocky and subsequently Adrian and everybody else in that world feel small and under pressure. We kind of went the other way, and we went, all right, let's strip it all away and let's make it kind of vast, and it'll be bleak, and have Rocky and Adrian and the South Philly characters that are down on their luck. They're living in a world where there isn't much, so our set's minimal.
And using the screen was so important,
right? And then we add in the screen element,
the Rocky Marciano poster.
But if you kind of watch, if you remember back, you don't get a ton of moving image at the beginning of the show. You get a kiss of it, you get a taste of it here and there, but then we progressively add more with the training montages, etc. The interviews from the news, the anchors and stuff like that, until we get to the fight, which, you and Nate are on there too, being pretty sexy. So come and see that. But yeah, so like just adding up those things, it's like, okay, we did a Rocky story for our version of Rocky by going, we don't have much. How do we do this? And I think we pulled it off. And
that was great.
Like I said, the ring is the ice skating rink is also is Mickey's gym. Like we just kind of double, triple, and quadruple down on spots, and hopefully, as an audience member, your eye just kind of tracks and follows along, and you go with it.
Oh, my one of my sons dressed up as Rocky, and his girlfriend had the red beret, and so we were ready to roll, and we all loved it. And I was going to ask him because he loves Rocky more than anyone I know, and I go, what did they? He goes, I loved it. I'm having a blast.
That's
great.
Awesome.
And so I want to tell you how impressed we were with the production. You were awesome. You've turned into a good friend that we're going to have on the show more often. And I just have this to ask you: Do I get a fucking IMDb page now, or am I in some kind of fucking union? Do I get credit somewhere? I mean, I'm not asking for much. No. Where do I go from here?
Well, that's an interesting question because theoretically you would be SAG-AFTRA for your appearance, but you're in an equity product where the stage union's equity. So
I just want to be something. I don't. What do I do?
You're everything. You're SSJ.
Is there a card? Do I get a card? Do I get like a?
You would have to.
Is there a
how
tattoo?
Do they do it
or
now? Yeah, I think you should get a tattoo.
A handshake. I mean, anything.
We'll work on it.
Just
we'll
let me
figure
know.
something out.
Just let me know. I want to have a page that reflects that I was in this production. And so, again, go see it. Nate and I are the broadcast crew at the end, but guess what? The other parts are way, way better than us. So you have to go see it. mtkc.org, Rocky live on stage, Drew Starlin. Thank you so much for being generous with your time, my man.
Are you kidding me? Like, I am so humbled that you have given so much attention to this, and we appreciate it. So thank you for having me.
Go see it, and it runs through April 28th. Music Theater, Kansas City, mtkc.org. Until next episode, the microphone is off.